Hello, and thank you for joining us for the next episode of our Inspiring Women series. I'm Celine Gordon, and today we're delighted to welcome Noelle Pina, Chief of Staff at the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce. So, hello, Noelle. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, I'm honored to be joining you. I was quite taken aback when I got the invitation to do this, so I'm pleased to be here.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. So we'd love to start off by you telling us a little bit about your career journey. I'm wondering if you ever imagined if this was the plan that you would be in this role on Cape Cod.
No, not at all. I'm originally from Nassau, Bahamas, and my family still lives there. I'm a 14th generation Bahamian, so when I first started off on my career journey, I was working there in marketing. So I worked for the wholesalers, and we came up with marketing plans for Playtex, Duracell, Gillette, Oral-B. I mean, you name it, there was a whole bunch of them. And they also had 4 of the largest retail pharmacies in Nassau as well. So I worked on the retail side of things. We did a lot of sales promotions, a lot of radio, a lot of live interviews, parties at the store. It was stuff like that. And then I moved into working at an appliance and an electronics store that was independently owned. And so there I did more marketing, and I did my master's at West Virginia University in integrated marketing communications. So when I first came to Massachusetts, my plan was I was going to commute to Boston and go work in the agency scene. And I figured out right away that I was not interested in the Route 3 and 93 traffic.
Why not?
And my husband's from the Cape. And I knew that the chambers did marketing because I had lived here for a year in 2004. I sold copiers then. That was before I moved back to Nassau and started my career journey there. And so now it's 2010. I had just gotten my green card. It was February and snowing. And I printed out my resume and I went to networking events, and I walked into all the local chambers on the Cape and dropped off paper copies of my resume. And that's how I ended up working at the New Bedford Chamber, because my colleague Marie recommended me for a job there. So that was awesome. And then I worked in New Bedford for a couple of years. I started off as an employer specialist, which meant that I found internships for high school students at our member businesses. And then I moved into being the programs and events manager. So I planned a golf tournament, planned a women's networking event, and other things. And then eventually I was headhunted to run the Orleans Chamber of Commerce, which I did for 9 years. And that role, it was great. I loved working in Orleans. I had never been there before, but just driving through and never getting off the highway when I went until my first interview. But what I really came to really enjoy about Orleans was there's a lot of solopreneurs in the community. It's very beachy. There's a lot of surfers. There's a lot of fishermen and fishing families overall. But they're really proud of where they're from, like everybody from the Cape, but they're really proud of Orleans, what it is, that it's the hub of the Lower Cape. There's 2 beaches there. There's a lot of water resources that people want to go to. And so being able to live in the Upper Cape, I live in Mashpee, and work in the Lower Cape gave me some really good perspective on what life is like here. And then I did that for quite some time. And eventually Paul, our new CEO here, asked me if I wanted to be the chief of staff. And I have to say my ears rang. My head was like, whoa, like going all wonky. And so I was really pleased about it, but I knew why he asked me to come is because I'd spent years in the industry, and I also did the necessary training to be selected for this role. So I went and finished up a 4-year program with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which is Institute for Organization Management. It's training on how to run associations and chambers. I was in a sorority in college. I started a Rotaract club when I was in my early 20s. Then I came to work in chambers, and along with the U.S. Chamber program, I also was accepted to the Tufts University Institute for Nonprofit Management program that's run here on the Cape. It's a program that happens through the Cape Cod Foundation. It's excellent for nonprofit professionals. So, I took the time to do both of those, and the board in Orleans supported me along the way. But many times people don't take advantage of the professional development opportunities that are offered to them. And I know that, working well, the WIB paid for half of my tuition to do Institute for the Nonprofit Management Program at Tufts University. And I offered, I had other staff members in Orleans that did courses through the WIB. And so you have to take advantage of what's offered to you.
Right, absolutely. You've established yourself so well on the Cape. You have a terrific reputation. Everyone says is so impressed by not only your work ethic, but again, that different perspective that you can bring, not always having lived and worked on the Cape. And that's really so valuable.
I think what it is, I'm grateful for small things that people here really, it's always been a part of their life. So simple stuff like having the mail come to my house, my mailbox, and be on time is amazing. Having libraries that I could pick anything that I want, and I tell what I do it, and I can go to the library and pick up whatever I want for free. Amazing. My kid even being picked up by a school bus. Amazing. All things that my friends do not have that in Nassau. Doesn't happen. So
interesting.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's just a part of it.
Right. You bring such a commitment to your role and a strength of purpose. I'm curious because we do a lot of programs that involve mentoring. If you yourself had a mentor, and if that's something that was learned behavior that was encouraged by someone in their earlier stages of your career.
Yeah, well, I played a lot of sports when I was in high school. I played softball up until I was 27. So having a coach in my life was something that I appreciated from being a teenager. And in going into my career, I always would, along with that, I am the type of person where I love having conversations with older members of my family, because experience does, they've walked the walk before you. So anytime I've moved into a new role, I'm always trying to find somebody that could help guide me along the way. And when I moved into, when I worked in New Bedford, my boss there, Roy Nascimento, I still call him. I called him a couple months ago about stuff that we were working on here. And then there was a lady, Jane Renzi, she owned a marketing agency here on the Cape. When I was trying to look at restructuring our membership benefits, or what should the chamber do because COVID's happening? What do we provide to our members? She really helped me answer a lot of those questions and to come up with what the tactical and practical things that we were actually going to do, what would they look like? And then, I've always looked at I had board members who were older on our board, or people that just have lived in Orleans for a very long time. So Sassy Richardson, that owns the farm, she really helped me understand and learn who everybody was in town and what relationships people had to one another. And then Brian Junkins, that owns Friends Marketplace, and he was a consultant for J.B. Morgan before he bought Friends, and just the way how he goes about running his everyday business, and how he thinks about numbers and data points that make a difference in how you do your work every day. That really helped. And then since I've moved into this role, Paul is my mentor here at the chamber. He's the CEO, and he wants to help me grow professionally, and I'm leaning into that as much as what I can, because he offered it to me from the very first time that he and I met one-on-one. So hey, if somebody offers it to you, you don't want to say no. It may seem uncomfortable, but you got to just go ahead and do it.
It's nice to be surrounded by that very supportive network, internally, externally. And I think you're exactly right about the mentoring piece. I think if you open yourself up to it, it becomes available, to you, which is a terrific thing. And I don't think that's certainly not just specific to the Cape, but I see so much of that happening, in our discussions with people. Do you feel as though having those diverse perspectives, especially having diverse examples in leadership, lends something better to an organization? Do you think even just kind of developing the culture of an organization, does diverse voices, does it contribute to that, do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you don't want to have, well, nonprofits get the tax designation they do because we have boards of directors that are meant to all come together, provide their individual opinions, and come up with what the collective consensus of the group is going to be. And that is, part of why we are, why we have the tax status and we're tax exempt. So that part, and when I think about it in that way, I also, in working for a chamber, a lot of times when I'm describing it to people, I tell them it's like a fraternity. It's the same thing. There are people that have been involved in creating the Cape Cod Chamber and, lifting it up to what it is today for many years longer than what I have. And you have to be respectful of the time and the energy and the effort that they put behind whatever part of the organization that they had at the time. And you have to listen to what their input is, and think about how you're going to incorporate it into what the Cape Cod Chamber of 2022 is. And in doing that, now on the Cape, our population is more diverse. The census figures are showing that. But diversity isn't only immigrants or people of color or, just women. There's so many different facets of diversity. For example, I had a call with the Provincetown Business Guild a couple weeks ago, one-on-one, and we had a great talk about where they're going and what their direction is. And that's another area of diversity that we want to always hear from. And it only helps to make the collective of the community better. And so here in my role at the chamber, what I've always liked about working with chambers is you can pick up the phone and talk to whoever, because everybody, they like, we're the oldest brand in the world, and people like it when somebody from the Chamber of Commerce is calling them, no matter who they are. It always sounds good.
Right. It's a good door opener for sure. Your role is very involved. It's very busy. I'm sure it's late nights, early mornings, the seasonality to a certain extent. We all know, how much busier the Cape even gets, during certain seasons. How do you stay inspired? I'm wondering what inspires you to, get up and get to work every day.
For me, there's many different things. I think about how hard our business owners here on the Cape have to work. That's the first thing. I think about how hard, because I'm an immigrant too, our immigrant employees have to work when they get here to start off with. I think about the opportunities that are provided to them that they would never have in the countries that they're from, because that's what's happened to me. I would never be doing something like this in Nassau. It's not the same.
Yeah, interesting, really interesting. What do I'm wondering, obviously, or I'm guessing, the Bahamas has a predominantly, island coastal feel, as the Cape obviously does. So there may be similarities there, but what are some of the things that you love about working on Cape Cod?
Oh, I love how, for me, I really liked the openness to professional development that we have here. Some people, I think, overlook that. I love how people that live on the Cape that have been here for generations, they look at it the same way as my family do with being from the Bahamas. They're very proud of being from the Cape. And they talk about it in all of its different changes over the history. You know, it's a peninsula that hasn't been an easy place for people to live in certain times of its history. I love the history that's here, and you know, the fact that it's been populated for so long, in between knowing the Wampanoag Indians history, and then also knowing, you know, the English migrants that came over. My maiden name is Dorset, so in fact, my godmother did track that we had an ancestor that came to Plymouth first, and then they went to Bermuda, and then they went to the Bahamas.
Wow.
And I like the simple, and I love the, I love being by the water and being able to, and other things like all the opportunities that my kids have, all the things that they can do in the summertime, or all the different types of sports my son can play. And then I like the proximity to Boston. You know, I went there on Friday to go watch a comedian. You know, we went to the Celtics game not too long ago. So those are the things that I just like it overall. I like the arts that are here, all the different art galleries and individual artists that are makers. I'm always so impressed with what people can create with their hands here. I am not that kind of person, so I can do it.
We're so blessed to have all those things. I know, especially, you know, our local artists, the arts and culture scene. As you mentioned, that proximity to Boston, you can be in Providence. It's really, it's special for so many reasons.
Yeah.
But you're like a walking advertisement for Cape Cod.
I do.
But knowing how busy you are, you're working, you're a professional, and you have two children, and enjoying doing things with your husband, that sort of thing. How do you find that work-life balance? Is that something you intentionally create?
Yes. Well, first off, my husband has a big family that's here, and I would not be able to do what I do without Jeannie and Anaya and all of the different women that help me by taking care of my kids when I have work meetings. My father-in-law, he'll come and hang out with my kids when I have board meetings. So I definitely do not do it alone. I have Megan, who's a babysitter of mine. She was my son's preschool teacher years ago. You know, she'll sleep over with my kids. She's a trusted person that allows me to basically have one-on-one time with my husband that some people forget. And then Parrish and I, we're both working professionals, so we lean on each other. You know, I know not to bug him if he has a golf tournament, and he knows to bug me if I have to talk on a select board meeting. So, you know, we really respect what the other has done, and we know that if something great, I told him about this interview today, and he was really happy for me. And you know, anything that he's doing with golf, I'm really happy for him too. So I get up early, I do my work. I have to say there's practical things that I do. I own an air fryer. I keep my dinners very simple for my kids. Like, you know, I don't try to make stuff that's going to take an hour. I get up and work out in the morning, and I'm always on a quest to stay off of social media constantly.
Great advice. Great advice. Well, it sounds like you've created a beautiful life for yourself here, both yourself and your husband, your colleagues. It sounds like you have, incredible support, and that shows through all of the work that you do. But before we let you go, because we know how busy you are, is there a piece of career advice that you would share with the next generation of leaders that are in the earlier stages of their career?
I'd say two things. Don't be afraid to have hard conversations. One of my family members said, they're just a critical conversation. Sometimes people call it criticism, but it's not. It's just a critical conversation. So you have to be able to do that. And then never have a meeting without an agenda.
I might have to write that one down.
I just talked about it this morning. Never have a meeting without an agenda. Plan out what you want to accomplish.
Yeah.
What do you want to have? What do you want to be the outcome of this meeting? Because there are many, and I'm just talking for professional women in the same kind of type of, white collar work that I'm in. There are many meetings that take place and people sit there and they wonder, why are we here? Don't waste people's time.
Right. Great advice. Great advice. It was really delightful to talk with you. I'm so glad we were able to do this.
You guys asked me to do this. I'm just so pleased to be able to do it.
Well, we're honored to have you. We know it won't be the last time that we see you. And yeah, good luck as the summer approaches. We're looking forward to enjoying the summer here on Cape Cod. So
absolutely, it's my favorite time of year.
Thanks again, Noelle. Take good care.